Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into the Photoshop Challenge. I'm your host for today. My name is Sam Peterson, and we're going to be doing some stylized portraits. So basically, taking a photo, making some elements look illustrated, using different filters, kind of giving it a sort of just energetic, colorful, and sort of illustrated look. So I just want to say, hey, what's up to everyone in the chat? I think I saw Cody Bear in there. Steve, Clarissa, Patrick, RB, Frosia, what's going on, everybody? Hey, what's up, Kevin? Who else? I know I missed some people. Wade, Robert, Becca, what's going on, everybody? Well, welcome on in. Let me show you what we're going to be creating today. Before I do that, I just want to say if you want to follow along, we do have starter files for this challenge. So you can follow along with the starter file. It should be in the description down below if you download that. And you can kind of just follow along with each step I do. And of course, as always, feel free to take this challenge, run with it, and make it your own. You don't need to use this photo. You can kind of take the idea and just do whatever you feel like in terms of what you're trying to, express creatively. So let me show you kind of what we're creating today. Something a little bit like this. Like I said, different kind of illustrated elements, a lot of saturation, energy, some filters in Photoshop. So this one's just kind of playing around with a bunch of different techniques, having fun. So let's jump right into that. So first off, what I want to do is I want to take our background image right here and duplicate it with Controller-Command-J. I always just like to duplicate my background just to have a copy just in case. So what I want to do is I want to go into Select Subject. I'm going to grab my Quick Selection tool. You can always click and hold on these tools to see the alternate tools if you're not seeing it. I'm going to do Select Subject here and see how that does. Now it does pretty good for the most part, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Quick Selection tool to add to my selection. To subtract, I can hold on Alt or Option. You can always hold on Shift to add to the selections. I don't need this to be perfect for this stream, but I always recommend, spending a little extra time on your selections just to get them, as clean as you can. You can always go back and mask things after the fact. Working with masks is non-destructive. But, it's always nice to spend a little extra time just going around seeing where I didn't select. Cleaning up that mask just with Alt or Option to subtract, Shift to add. Just kind of a repetitive process. So I'm going to try to do this real quick. There's always other tools you can use. I'm using the Quick Selection tool right now. But what I could do for precision purposes, let's say the face, switch to my lasso tool and just kind of clean it up. Because there is an area here in the shadow where it's lost a bit. So I'm just kind of fine-tuning it. Whatever tool you like to use for a cleanup. I'm just doing it kind of quick and messy here. And I think that's going to be good enough for what we need for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to click the mask button at the bottom of the layers panel here. Mask him out. I'm going to go create a background because we can't tell that he's masked right now. So Controller-Command-Shift-N, hotkey for new layer. Call this background. Use my fill bucket to grab white and fill in that background. Yeah, that looks like a pretty good mask to me. What I want to do from here is maybe just crop down. We do not need this big of a canvas. I do want to keep in mind I have these splatter assets that I probably want to right click and do convert to smart object. So I can shrink those down and the smart object will retain the information so we can always blow it back up without losing anything. But just so we don't crop it out. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my assets, press C for crop, and just take this down quite a bit. I'm going to still leave quite a bit of space to give us that leeway to work with because I don't know exactly what our design is going to look like. But we definitely don't need all that space. Coley, welcome on in. Good to see you. Hey, what's up, Ted? I don't know if I saw you before. What's going on? Tim Loomis. Hey, everybody. All right, so what I want to do next is I want to start duplicating these layers. So I'm actually going to duplicate this once, Controller-Command-J, and I'm going to apply this layer mask. So I'm going to right click this layer mask and just apply. We just need the figure alone there, but we do have the masked version if we need it later on. And I'm just going to call this original, or OG for short. Do Controller Command J, and I'm going to call this one jacket. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go through and we're going to mask out various parts of the clothing and apply different effects to them. Now you could apply the same effect to all of his clothing. It's really up to you stylistically how you want to go about this, but I'm going to get the jacket. And to do that, one thing that I see here is the orange of the jacket is so bright and bold. So I might just go into select color range. Now from here, you have this eyedropper. It looks like it's already selected for me because I used this earlier. But you'll select different shades of orange. So I'll just grab kind of the center. And then I can go into this little plus eyedropper icon to add additional colors. Click there. Now I can't really see what colors which. We have the selection preview set to grayscale. I'm going to select none. And then I can just kind of zoom in here and select, okay, like this yellow, that's the highlight, the shadow, maybe that deep shadow, some of these shadows. Now I can go back into my grayscale preview and see if that's looking pretty clean. And I think it is. That looks pretty good. And I'm fine with just selecting the orange of it. You know, it's not selecting those darker tones, and I think that's kind of a fun way to do this this style. So from here, I will have to go in and clean this up. I'm gonna take my lasso tool, just hold on Alt or Option to, you know, get rid of some of these areas, and hold on Shift to add to some of these areas it missed. Takes a little bit of time. Mostly it's around the face here because there are a lot of warm tones in the face. So I'm just holding on Alt or Option to select this whole face, ear, hand area and get rid of that. I can also deselect this whole area of the glasses that it selected. But for the most part, I think that the color range does a pretty good job. Anything outside here that it missed, I can just grab. Any tools that you can find that will do the majority of the job and save you having to manually do too much of it. You know, those are always the best tools to use, but a lot of times it's going to require a little bit of cleanup. All right, I'm going to hold on Alt or Option to just deselect this entire pants area because the pants are orange too. So I just need to do a little bit of manually selecting around the pants. Again, you know, if this is for your challenge, just spend as long as you need to on these masks. It's always good practice. I'm just going to try to do it pretty quick and easy. So I think that's good. I think we got what we want. Getting rid of that neck area. All right. I think that's good. I think I like that. Let's get rid of this shirt area. So I'm going to go and hit the mask button at the bottom of the layers panel again. And what we're going to do from here is we're going to take this layer. We're going to right click it, make it a smart object. We're going to be doing this for all of them. We're going to go into Filter, Filter Gallery. Now what I want to do, I want to go into Filter Gallery and then Texture. And there's one, you can do various effects here. You play around with them, choose any effects you want. This is Cutout. We will be using this in a moment. But I kind of like this stained glass effect. So there's cell size, which is really what it sounds like, just the size of these shapes. I'm going to keep mine at like 12, I think. Border thickness, again, what it sounds like. I think 4 looks pretty good. And then there's light intensity, which is kind of the contrast between the lights and darks. And I think it looks pretty good at 3. So we'll select that. So he's kind of got this like stylized, almost sequin looking jacket. All right, so let's go from here. What we want to do is basically just repeat that process. So I'm going to take this original layer, we named original, and I'm going to duplicate it a few more times for the pants, the shirt, and the hat. So let's do like 3 copies. Pants, I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did for the shirt. So I actually just, to save some time, I went ahead and just had that already masked out. So this is pants, we got that. We'll do hat, shirt, We could do like shoes, however many separate pieces of clothing you want to do. Of course, this is just a lot of masking, so you know, kind of do as many as you feel like doing. But let's do the pants since we just put that in. So again, I did the same thing with color range and the cleanup masking. Nothing too special there. I want to right click the pants and do convert to smart object. I'm actually going to go ahead and right click all those layers we just created and do convert to smart object. I think I actually did create clipping mask there, so make sure you're clicking the right thing. All right, we'll leave our original alone. So the pants, I want to go up to filter, filter gallery, and then we'll go to artistic and we'll do cutout for this one. Now cutout has 3 different settings as well. There is number of levels, and you'll see that affects it graphically. Now one thing I'm considering here is that the pant leg on the bottom gets dark in some of these. It goes to like almost 1 shade, and I don't like that. So I do like this where it's 5. The edge simplicity, we can play around with that. It kind of just changes this the subtle shape of it. Go for 6. And then edge fidelity just has a little bit of a change there. We'll go for 2. So play around with these. It's going to be different for every image. And that's kind of a cool look. I like that. So let's do the hat. The hat's pretty easy to select, or it should be at least. I'll select my quick selection tool. We could do color range for this because it is a very distinct color. And I'll just use the quick selection tool to try to grab these big shapes. It does a pretty good job. So in the interest of time, I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to mask that. And we're going to try to apply, let's see. I'm going to go to filter gallery. Oh, whoops, I think I have the mask selected. That's why nothing happened. Let's go to filter gallery. And I think cutout for this looks pretty cool. So I think, yeah, I want to keep it artistic cutout. And we might change the settings a little bit. Let's see how this looks. I can scroll over here. No, it doesn't want me to. Okay, we'll leave it there. I think 6 actually looks, I don't know, 6 looks a little bit better. There's a few more levels. I think that looks good on the hat. Maybe we'll try edge simplicity. Crank that down, see what happens. I think it's pretty similar. Maybe I'll go to like 5. And we'll leave that at 2. Click OK. Now we got the stylized hat as well. So we kind of have this like repeating motif of styles. The jacket is going to stand alone on its own because I think it's kind of like a centerpiece. But the pants and hat have a similar style, which I think thematically kind of makes it fit together a little bit. You can do this as many times as you want. We could do it with like the shoes. I think the shoes kind of look out of place. Let's see if we have time for shoes. So select the whole thing. We could even do like the soles of the shoes and the top of the shoes differently. I think that could be kind of a cool look. But maybe I'll just do one for now so we don't spend too much time on every piece. Let's see that styles. We could try that stained glass. Stained glass looks pretty crazy. If I crank down the cell size, that might be a neat look. We could also try cutout. Yeah, maybe I'll do cutout just to kind of make it thematically fit a little bit. Let's see what happened there. Oh, I don't believe I ever masked out my shoes. I selected it and I think I went straight into filter. So let's try that again. Click OK. Oh, I think, there we go. It's because I have the shirt layer on top of it and the shirt layer is not masked. So it's covering everything. It's just a full figure. I should have realized that. So let's grab the shirt. We'll do the same thing. I'm just grabbing with quick selection tools. Super quick and messy mask. We'll mask that out and do the same thing, filter gallery. I think make sure you have the layer selected, not the mask. And I think that looks fine. Just get everything kind of stylized looking here. All right, so let's see. Um, yeah, okay. I think that's good. We kind of filtered our different objects. You can try a bunch of different filters. There's also things like if you go into filter gallery, feel free to experiment with more than just cutout and the stained glass. You can also try things like the halftone pattern can be kind of neat. And right now this is for just the shirt, but it's masked, so once we click OK, it'll confirm that. But for the halftone pattern, you can change the size of the lines. This can kind of be a cool stylized look. There's also the contrast. But if we want lines to show up on the white, we have to have it pretty low. But then there's also circle, and there's line. Or sorry, there's dot. Usually it's on dot by default, but you can play around with circle and line, which gives it a bit of a different effect. So, we could try something like that. But I think for contrast purposes, I'll keep it this cutout image. So play around with the filters. It's kind of fun to just go through, click different ones, see if it's a cool stylistic effect. Maybe try to repeat some of these styles on different pieces for unity's sake. But I think that looks pretty good. The only thing I don't really like is I think some of these could be increased in saturation. The pants, for example. I think the pants, I'm going to save it, by the way. It's good to save that controller command S muscle memory to get into. So I'm going to do controller command U. Since these are smart objects, we don't need to make an adjustment layer. We can just do the hotkey for hue and saturation. And I'm going to crank the saturation up quite a bit. I think that looks pretty good. I could do this for anything I think that looks not bold enough, not saturated enough. Controller command U for the hat, maybe. A little boldness. The shoes are a little bit dull to me. Controller command U. I could crank up the saturation and even try changing the hue. Maybe we could try colorize. Gives it a little bit of a tint. Maybe kind of that blue-green. Crank up that saturation. That's kind of cool. Mirrors the hat a little bit. So just a little bit more style to the shoes there. From here, maybe we want to start adding some background elements. And before we do, we're getting a lot of layers here. It's kind of getting confusing to me. So I'm going to go ahead and select all those layers that we just made. Not the originals. I'll keep those at the bottom. But I'm shift clicking to select all of them. Controller command G. And we'll just call this clothing. And then what I want to do is go into my assets folder and grab these splatters. So might try to find any splatters that I think look good, but before I do that, I want to maybe just get rid of the white background to make this easy. Quick selection tool I often use just to remove the white background from anything that's just a solid color, or I said white background, but anything that's a solid color, it's usually pretty good and quick about. And I'm just going to press delete. That's a smart object. Okay, we can rasterize that. There. I don't feel the need to really be non-destructive with this, so I'll be destructive. So let's grab any splatters we think are cool. I'm just going to grab some of these. Control C, go down to my layers. Control V. This one looks kind of cool. I'll grab 3 of them. Control C, Control V, and then I don't know, this one's kind of neat. This one at the bottom center. Control C. Whoops, wrong layer selected. Make sure I select my splatters. Control C, Control V. All right, I can hide my assets and now look at the shapes that I got. So I'm just going to crank these up in size. Oh, I did rasterize this, which was actually a bad call, because once I rasterized it, it defaults it to those that low res layer. So size it before you rasterize. Little tip there. But I'm just gonna go through. It doesn't matter. It's pretty graphic. But a note for you all. And now what I want to do is I can't see what's going on, so I'm going to take all these, shift click them, and drag them underneath the clothing layer. Let's collapse the clothing layer. Whoops. It is collapsed, and we'll drag it right underneath. And I'll even put these own splatters in their own group, call it splatter, and then we can mess around with the sizing a bit. So maybe we'll put this one there, this one there, this one's at the bottom. And I'm just trying to create like a big shape between these. Kind of a big graphic shape. Oh, what's happening is I need my original layer on top of the splatters, so we still have the skin tones. Resize before rasterize, exactly. It's catchy. It should be easy to remember. All right. So what I could do from here is I can go ahead and actually apply a color overlay to this whole thing. Or let's do a gradient overlay. Now, if you go into the gradients, if you click that, there's a lot of default gradients that you can use. There's blues if you want to try different blues, see what looks cool. There's purples, pinks, reds. So we could try like oranges. Now, because he has so much orange, I think we want something that contrasts. So I think we will go blues. There's like a lot of fun color gradients to play around with. And of course, you can always add your own colors here by just clicking below it, selecting the color, or deleting colors by clicking and dragging it out. But since we don't have too much time, let's just go with a default one. Let's see if we can find one that looks cool. I like that. Click OK. We'll go from here. And what we could even do is within this group, since this is now applying that overlay, that gradient overlay to everything in the group, we could make a new layer and just call it paint. And I could go in and paint in this layer. I'm going to use Kyle's spatter brushes in the special effects folder, but I could just add like a little bit of splatter effect to kind of add to that graphic shape that we created. We don't need to rely on it. We can kind of get, creative with it, do our own thing there. I'll keep it pretty simple, but maybe we want to make a little bit of shapes outside of this gradient, because if we do anything in the interior of the shape, you can't really tell. So I'll create a new paint layer outside of it. And this will be kind of like, let's see, I'll select this color and just make it a bit darker. It'll just be like a little additional texture that we can do. We could even take, actually, I'm going to go ahead and put that original figure within the clothing folder. We could even double click that folder and give it a stroke, for example. I might do some like, bold blue, green color. The size you can adjust here, the opacity. But I'm going to leave those as they are. I think that looks pretty good. In the paint layer, we could even make a new one and just kind of go crazy with brushes. If you have any brushes you like, if you have any cool textures, if you just want to make shapes, like we could try different kind of dot shapes. I'm just using a hard round brush. Any graphic shapes you want to create, make another one. I'll call this like triangles. Sometimes I like playing with the lasso tool. In this instance, I might go with the polygonal lasso tool. You can hold on shift and then a hotkey to cycle through the ones in that little sub menu, or you can just click and hold. But let's create like little triangles, and I'm holding on shift to create more of these. That's a funky triangle, but it's okay. We still like it. And what you could do here is if you have like an airbrush, you can actually paint within that lasso tool. And by the way, I just hid my selection with Controller Command H. I toggle that on and off a lot, but you can kind of get some cool looks here. If anything's too dark, like if it's dark over a dark background, I could paint that one lighter. So it kind of gives you a little flexibility to just like paint what colors you want, where you want. One thing I might want to do too is next to the figure, I'm doing a lot of paint layers here. Keep this on the triangle, but if you have any sort of particle brushes, and we talked about this in a previous challenge, I could even kind of make it look like some pieces are breaking off. Let's see, I'll do this one on top of the clothing layer. Have to make sure to deselect, but if I want to have it like any kind of orange triangles look like they're part of the clothing. We could do some like cool graphics like that. So just go and have fun with this. Last thing I might want to try to do is you could even incorporate some shapes. So if we go into like the ellipse tool, for example, I could make an ellipse. Let's do like a ring like that. I don't want to fill, so I'll get rid of that fill. I'll leave the stroke, but we might have the stroke be like orange. Kind of flip this around like this. I could even warp this. By the way, if you go into Edit, Transform, Warp, but I have it hotkeyed. So kind of doing this, giving it a funky shape, a little bit of style, and kind of stretch it around. Now the last thing I would need to do is create a mask on this and mask out the part that's going to be on top of him if we want like this kind of effect, like it's going around him for some depth. I'm just doing this really quick and messy, but hopefully you get the idea. Hopefully this gives you some tools to work with, some techniques to try. Really, this one's just all about having fun. This is our last challenge, so definitely just go crazy, have fun with it. I hope you enjoy it. I will be here tomorrow and we'll be doing challenge reviews. If you have any questions or anything you want me to clarify, let me know in the Discord and we'll talk about that all tomorrow. So thanks for stopping by, everyone. I do appreciate it. I will see you all next time.